Hi, this is Daniel with End Time Country Living, and on this video I wanted to quickly show you guys how you can do no-till potatoes without putting them on the surface of the ground and laying mulch over them, how you can use the soil to benefit you to get great potatoes. So just yesterday I went ahead and got all my potatoes planted out here in the garden. See here, I have some holes in the bed here. So I have 30-inch beds that are 30-inch wide and 50-foot long. So I planted half of the bed here. I'm going to do onions at the other far end over there. So I have 25 feet, and I also did 2 beds over here. So I have about 50 feet worth of potatoes this year. So that's about double what I did last year. So in an effort to kind of reduce the amount of work that I put into the garden, because I don't have a lot of time, especially this year, to put into it, and also to not disturb the soil as much as possible so that the biology in there can continue to grow, especially the fungus. When you tear it up, it really messes with the fungus, and it takes a while for it to rebuild itself and rebuild the soil structure. So trying to maintain the soil structure as much as possible so it'll be a healthy soil, and it will allow my plants to have symbiotic relationships with the soil biology and get the nutrition it needs. So this bed here was one that I had covered until just yesterday, and it's still fairly dry. It's nice moist consistency. It's not overly dry, but it was fairly easy to dig. So what I did was I used the post hole digger to go ahead and space these out. They're at about 12 to 14 inches or so spacing on them. That seems to work okay. And so I just went ahead and took several minutes for each hole, and I found a few rocks down at the bottom of a few holes, so those took a little bit longer to get the rocks out of those. But it wasn't too bad. It worked fairly well. First I tried to use a grape hoe to kind of pull a lot of the soil back, kind of dig a trench out of there, but that's quite a bit of work. And it's, I wouldn't say it's necessarily more work than the post hole digger, but it was moving a lot more soil and disturbing it a lot more, and where to put the soil once you get it out of the trench is kind of a problem. The walkways aren't, a little honeybee landed on me. So that my walkways are about 12 inches wide, so I don't have a whole lot of place to put a lot of soil. And so I think the post hole digger is a good method to try to get the potato down the hole. So I dug the holes at about 12 inches deep, and so I'm not going to put the potato at the bottom and then fill up the hole immediately. Otherwise it would take quite a while for the potato to grow up through that, and it may not make it. So it's best to just put a little bit of soil over the top. I actually put mostly just a little bit of compost and a little bit of soil mixture over the potatoes just to get them covered up so they're not going to get frozen if it does frost. We're still in the early stages, so today is April 6th, and our last fall frost date is about April 24. So we're still in that frost zone. If things are warming up here, we may be done with frost. I was looking at the nighttime temperatures, and it looks like it's down 38 or 37 at the lowest right now, and even down 42 or so at the minimum here. So anyway, I think it's about time to get them out here, get the roots start growing, and let them start coming up a little bit. And if they get frosted a little bit on the tops and they get burned down a little bit, not a problem. They'll put out and they'll grow again, and it doesn't really stunt them. Actually, it's better to get them out a little bit earlier so the roots, like I mentioned, can get more established. So here is where I used the grape hoe to pull back a lot of the soil, just trying to see how much I would do, and it's pretty much end up just being a trench because it's about an 8-inch wide grape hoe that I was using. So this is what it looks like with the post hole digger here. So These are about 8-inch diameter holes. So these are spaced out about 12 to 14 inches away from each other. Just put them right down the center of the bed here. So you can see down there, if you look carefully, you can see a little bit of a potato shoots coming up in there. Let's see if I can find it. Here's one that's over here. It's a little bit more evident there. Some had more shoots than others coming up there. So I just put them in the bottom of the hole there and just dumped a little bit of dirt and compost over them. And so I'm going to let those grow up. So they seem to do quite well when they are fairly deep in the ground, as opposed to being close to the surface, only maybe 3 to 4 inches down. They seem to not do as well, so that's why I'm putting them down a little bit deeper. I'm also happy to see that the honeybees are out here. I have my kale that's starting to flower here, so I'm enjoying the little honeybees buzzing around me. I have, my neighbor has some beehives up the road that they put there most of the year they're out there. They just started a couple years ago bringing them, so it's a real blessing to be able to have those. So anyway, I think I have about 50 or so potatoes here, and so I pray that that will do well this year. God really blessed last year. We had a great harvest of about 25 plants that we planted, so hoping we can continue to have a good harvest this year as well using similar techniques. So I had a fairly deep trench with a lot of compost and soil mixed in together around the potatoes last year. And one other benefit, so one thing that instead of putting more of a mound, growing them in a mound of soil, which I've seen a lot of people do, and I even tried out front our property a couple years ago, it dries out so quickly, and potatoes really like a lot of moisture. And so if you can keep them down lower in the ground and keep the surface of the soil fairly flat, it'll be much easier to water them, and they'll hold on to water quite a bit better. So anyway, that may give you a little tip there. So, all right, great. So I will see you guys on the next video. Keep praying, and I pray that we can get through this year and that everything will go well. It's always a good reminder during this difficult times where things are happening in the world to think about our relationship with God, and also try to develop the skills that we need in order to be more self-sufficient and not so dependent on the world. All right, catch you guys later. Bye-bye.